For almost a week now, I've had this desire, this compelling to make a quick video about worship. I belong to a Catholic church, and my church has a very different way of worshiping, very orthodox theologically, but just very contemporary in our approach. And so, I mean, I love it. Nativity Church in Timonium. I love going there. I love the way that things are happening. I love the fact that our pastor talks to us about God in a way that's exciting and inspiring. And one of the things that I love most is that we get to worship in song. There are many ways to worship, but I just want to talk quickly about worshiping in song. You know, as Catholics, we're accustomed to worshiping very quietly. And even though we've sung hymns for years, many of us have just listened to the choir sing the hymns and enjoyed it, but we haven't necessarily joined in. So I want to talk about worship. And the scripture that comes to me, it's been really on my mind for the past week or so, is this one in Genesis 22, 4 through 6. When Abraham looked up and saw the place that God had sent him to far away, then he said to the young men that he brought with him, he said, "Stay here with the donkey, and the boy and I will go over there and we will worship, and then we will come back to you." And this is pretty unusual because really God had sent him to sacrifice his son Isaac. And so he was expecting that they would come back. That's what he told the young men he brought. But he was taking to that mountain the most precious gift that God had given to him. This precious gift of this son that he waited for and waited for. And he was going to take that son and give him back to God. And for me, that's what worship is. It's this having this precious gift of God's Spirit within me and giving it back to God as I'm singing and my focus is on Him and not on myself. And that originally was one of the most difficult things about worship for me, is that, well, I'm a singer and I really do love to sing. And I was either enjoying the process of singing, which is still worship of myself, or focus on myself at the very least, or I was kind of trying to make sure that my singing was a good experience for other people. And that again is still focus on something other than God. But when I discovered that I could sing and those words could be used to focus on God, that was the most exciting experience that I'd ever had. And I love it every Sunday to get to do that. It's a sacrifice of myself and an honoring of God at the same time. And you know, it really did help me not to be so worried about what others were thinking while I was doing that. And little by little, I started kind of gently just singing along a little bit. But the point, the whole focus is that regardless of how quietly or how loudly you sing, that the focus be on God, that the sacrifice that you're offering is the sacrifice of focus on self and a total worship on God. In our church, we have a beautiful, beautiful statue of the crucified Christ right in the middle above the altar. And that's the place that I focus on. I don't even have to make a visual of Christ because I've got one there. And so I can really get my focus up there and be singing to God. It's awesome. And I just want to encourage you to try it. Think of it as a sacrifice. Many years ago, a sacrifice of self. Many years ago, someone said to me, they made a statement that stuck with me. And the statement was, you know, Karen, We all have a God-sized hole in us. And that hole means that none of us are satisfied until that place is filled with God. Worshiping is one of those ways of having that place, that God-sized space filled with Christ. It sounds crazy that you're giving away something, you're giving up worship, but I guarantee you in return, that place in you, that is the God place, is filled. It's awesome. I encourage you to give it a try.